Cheers, y'all.
Now that's the sound of a party about to happen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza, known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Ian, I see you're decked out in green. We have the sign in green.
I had to wear the Guinness shirt.
You are representing, my friend. That is absolutely awesome.
And I'm looking at it on camera, and it shows up real green on camera.
Super green. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Show number 274 is in the air. Our show today is an Irish whiskey blind taste test for St. Patrick's Day. Now, we've done St. Patrick's Day shows before, and they've always been fun, but we've never had a show that actually landed the live show on St. Patrick's Day before. So this is
a happy occasion.
So we went all out. Today we're doing all Irish themed beers, and we're doing Irish whiskey in a blind taste test, which we haven't done before with Irish whiskey. So this will be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
It is. You know, Irish whiskey is one of those things that tends to get looked over.
Well, but maybe not so much anymore. You may remember a few weeks ago we looked at an article that told us that Irish whiskey was projected this year to outsell Scotch in the United States.
That's awesome and crazy.
It is crazy. And as much as I love Scotch, there's some awfully good Irish whiskey. So today we'll be blind taste testing it, and we have some, very inexpensive Irish whiskeys and some that are a little pricier. So it'll be fun to see, if the price correlation stands up.
Yeah, we've got a good range because I know we've got a few that are in the, say, $30 range and $60 and $100 range, I know.
Yeah.
Just eyeballing it.
Yeah.
So I think, what do we got, like $30 to $100 roughly?
Probably so, yeah. Probably so. I think the Slane is like 28. This is
28,
Slane in there.
okay,
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. It'll be interesting to see how those less expensive ones stand up against the more expensive, because as we've learned with a lot of other spirits, sometimes it's not the price that indicates that it's going to be the best.
True.
True. Absolutely. So, well, it is so nice to have all of you along for show number 274.
I was very tempted to take a picture of the proper 12 and send it to you. Be like, I picked up some Irish whiskey.
That would have been,
I didn't do that.
And I thank you for that. I think we'd have been able to pick that one out.
I just don't want to put my money there.
Would be my guess. I understand. Well, it is, as I said, it's nice to have you guys with us. We have a lot to talk about today. We, of course, will be talking craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
Those things are awesome.
Let's talk about our beers. All Irish-themed today. We'll be trying from 11 Below Brewing right here in Houston, their Dublin Me Luck. It's their Irish red ale, and you said you've had that before.
I was turned on to this from Paul over at the New Potato. Actually, had it. This was a couple years.
Speaking of all things Irish,
all things Irish. Yes. He had it on cask there, or on tap there, and he's like, "Hey, you got to try this." So I tried it out. I've been in love with it for a few years now. Every time they come out with it,
it's sitting on top of Mr. Twirligig right now and spinning in its all of its beautiful wonder.
Fantastic beer.
So we'll be trying that, talking about it. Also from Odd Side Ales, we've had a number of their beers here in the last couple of months. That
Odd Side makes me spend $26 for a 4-pack.
Yeah, I know. It's
on that Hazel's
it's
nuts.
Good Hazel's
that
nuts.
Stuff is so amazing.
It really is, and we talk about, the price differences in whiskey. There's some pretty big price differences in craft beer.
Yeah,
too.
at $25 for a 4-pack, but it is mind-bogglingly good.
Well, today we'll be trying their Paddy's Red. It's an Irish ale.
That would be awesome.
And that
sounds
like it's going to be good. And then from another local brewery for us here in Houston, Texas, Eureka Heights. We'll be sampling their Tipsy Clover. It's an Irish-style stout.
I'm very familiar with this one, too.
Okay. Yeah, I have a hard time actually bringing in stouts that you are not already familiar with. It's always a challenge and one that I accept and enjoy when I bring one in.
Well, when you get to the maltier side of beers, I really try to stretch out, and try all of them.
Yeah, you do it as a public service, right?
Yes.
so that we can let people know what you think of these. I think that's very, very
you get
kind
to hear
of you.
my experience.
Very kind of you. Other things to talk about. We have a list of new cigars to watch for. There's some very interesting things coming to cigar shops near you. Oliva.
I love them.
Oh, so how do you feel about that latest release they did, the limited release, the Series V 135th anniversary
I bought
cigar?
2 boxes of them.
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
know.
out of them.
Guess what?
They're so good.
Guess what?
Tell me they're doing more.
They're
of them.
making more.
Oh man, I would love it if that's in their standard line. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I don't know whether they're just making more of the limited release or whether they're going to do. We may find out when we look at the article, but they have announced that they will be doing an increased production of that particular cigar.
I'm assuming they sold out of that so fast that even their heads were spinning.
Yeah, and why not? Like, if they have the tobacco, why not keep doing it?
So here's the thing. Just a short aside while we're talking about that. Sometimes the shape of a cigar, and then of course obviously the amount that's blended into it and everything has a lot to do with the flavor of the cigar, and that one comes out absolutely amazing.
They really did a fantastic. That's probably my favorite Oliva that I've ever smoked.
It's that and the Milano Maduro.
Oh, so good. All so good.
And the Series V.
We mentioned this
lots of stuff they make.
We mentioned this last week, but didn't have a chance to get there, so we'll try to cover it today. 5 craft beer trends to watch for in 2022. That should be interesting. And, of course, the return of what has become the most popular segment here on the program, and that is a little something.
Hold on.
I see it's out of reach. Never keep the ukulele too far away, my friend. That's sage words of advice from someone who doesn't know how to play the ukulele.
It is next to an Irish whiskey bottle.
Oh well, that's good for it. It was enjoying its status. We will be bringing you the most popular segment on the program of late. It's a little something we like to call drinking news, and today's drinking news teaser headline: What's worse than fake news? All right, so we'll look forward to that. Should be a good show.
That was worth the wait.
I'm excited about all the Irishness. And I was telling Adam, our producer on the Wheels of Steel, I was telling him before the show that we should totally go after a new sponsor, because the perfect sponsor for this program would be Uber. Don't you think?
Yeah, right.
It's perfect. Everybody who listens to the show will have need of an Uber at one time or another. So it's a perfect idea. We're going to have to, if any of the Uber crew at Uber headquarters is listening, we'll be calling you guys and asking you to sponsor the show. Might as well.
Just sponsor a segment. Start there.
Yeah, absolutely. You can sponsor Drinking News.
That's right.
Or maybe not. That might be Drinking News is it's a little weird. So we'll look forward to
a little risque sometimes.
Yeah, it has happened. So anyway, we're looking forward to all of that, and I'm looking forward to this Irish whiskey blind taste test. So we've got, I think, 6 different bottles of Irish whiskey. And
challenge accepted.
Adam will pour them. We'll do 2 a segment in 3 segments, and we'll talk about what we taste. We'll rate the 2, and then once we find out what they are, at the end of the show, we'll list our 3 favorites from the whole thing.
There you go.
Okay,
and we have a large range of those, so that's gonna be fun.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. So I'm relatively sure that even as you went around your bar, gathering up Irish whiskeys to bring in, as did I, and I think we both paid Specs a visit this week to get a few more. I would assume you have had the opportunity to smoke something interesting this week. Am I right?
I did. I went by Casa this morning, and
I love that place.
They had an end cap. I love when you walk in the door. They have these end caps, and they usually have the new stuff, or they still have some of the Cigar Snob and Cigar Aficionado top cigars for the year, up there and things like that. But they had a H. Upman end cap on there, and I was eyeballing it, and I was like, I haven't had an H. Upman in a while, so I grabbed one.
Which one did you go with?
I went with the one that Steve recommended. He highly recommended it. I said, have you had this? He goes, I've had like 3 of them this week.
Okay, that sounds like a pretty strong recommendation from the guy that works at the cigar shop.
Right. And so I went with his recommendation. This was the H. Upman 1844 Nicaragua, blended by
AJ Fernandez.
AJ Fernandez.
Yes, sir.
You already know this.
Well, I've smoked this cigar and talked about it on the show. It is a fantastic.
You have smoked this.
I'll totally preempt your review. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Agreed.
So
I had
the nitty gritty.
I had the Toro size. This is the 54x6 wrapper. It's a Brazilian Modafino wrapper. Binder and fillers Nicaraguan. The appearance on this beautiful dark chocolate colored covered, dark chocolate
That
colored.
would be an interesting cigar, covered in dark chocolate.
Right. It's hard to
Messy.
stay lit, but it tastes
Messy,
good.
yeah.
Beautiful dark chocolate colored wrapper, smooth and oily, firm feel overall. H. Upman Nicaragua label plus the AJ Fernandez Heritage band on it. The pre-light sniff, earthy and chocolate, sweet coffee, tea leaf at the foot. Pre-light draw, I used a clip, had a light draw to it, creamy sweetness, tea leaf, chocolate, nutty and spicy. The initial light. Do you want to do the song? I haven't had a chance to do that yet. I'm going to have a very busy
You mean
few
you
weeks.
got a Nicaraguan pepper blast, pepper blast?
It needs to be. I think it needs to be more metal than that.
Yeah, well, it's, but I figured you might like the metal too much.
It was the
So
Nicaraguan pepper blast.
I'm giving you my Badberry Gibb impression just until I get you to write and record a little Nicaraguan pepper blast.
yeah,
jingle,
it's working because it really hurts my soul
which
every time you
should
do
be
it.
speed metal, by the way.
Yeah, I'm thinking blast beats. I don't know. I'm going to work it out.
Okay.
We're going to come up with something. I'm going to have to detune some guitars.
And I'm going to keep at it until you do.
Right? Or just leave my bass where it is and put distortion on. I don't know yet. The Nicaraguan pepper blast was followed by a sweet brownie batter kind of thing. Big, fluffy smoke. Retrohale is charred toast, cedar, and dark fruit. The first third of the cigar definitely starts in at a medium plus. Maybe tipping into full flavored strength-wise pretty quickly. Chocolate and toast with pepper, hints of cayenne and raisin I got in there. Sweet, creamy notes combined with peppery spices to make a complex bouquet on the palate. Massive amounts of smoke. Complement the experience. Retrohale is cedar and pepper. Solid ash. Perfect burn. The second third of this. The cedar and charred toast with a backbone of brownie and cayenne pepper. It's got that spice in the back that was absolutely fantastic, like a pan of brownies baked over cedar fire. The Modafina wrapper is always chocolatey and spicy. The first time I ever became aware, I think, of the Modafina wrapper was that Mcauliffe Modafina cigar. And I really...
It's a good one.
Really, really enjoyed that a lot. So it's been on my radar ever since I had that, and it's always everything I've had with the Modafina wrapper is definitely right on my flavor profile that I really enjoy. So let's see, loads of flavors including cinnamon and raisin kind of swirl around the palate. Retrohale is massive. Cedar notes and toast with lingering pepper. Solid ash. Perfect burn. I did not tip this ash on myself at all. I let it go ever so long, and then I tapped it in the ashtray, and it came off in one big thunk. You know, you can almost hear it hit the ashtray.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the best. It's just a cigar smoker geek boy thing.
Right,
It's
right.
awesome.
The last third is pepper shifts to the background, making room for a little leather and slight mint aftertaste on this. Retrohale is cedar and toast. Everything else stayed pretty much the same for the last third of this, other than that pepper backing out. I really, really enjoyed it. At $10, I give it a 5.5. This is a fantastic cigar. Go buy them now.
Yeah. This is one that I think Adam gave me as a gift for either birthday or Christmas a while back, and I smoked it and talked about it on the show. Fantastic cigar.
Yeah,
just an absolute wonder. Well, I had one that I think you will find pretty interesting this week. In fact, the cigar that I had this week was named by Smokin' Tobacco as their cigar of the year for 2021. It's the Undercrown 10. And so the Undercrown 10 was released to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Undercrown line from Drew Estate. This is the one, you may remember the story. Drew Estate's rollers that were rolling the Liga Privada cigars for Drew Estate were smoking a lot of them when they rolled them, which normally is something that they allow you to do freely, I guess, at most cigar factories. However, they were having real trouble meeting the demand for Liga Privada, and so Jonathan Drew came through and said, "Guys, would you smoke something else because we need to make these orders? There's people waiting for these." So the rollers kind of got together and blended their own cigar, just for themselves to smoke while they were rolling the Liga Privadas. And when Jonathan Drew tried one of them, he was so impressed. He's like, "We have to release this."
It's a great cigar.
That became Undercrown.
Yeah.
And that became the whole line. Now they've really expanded the line over the last 10 years. They did a sun grown and several other iterations of it. But the Undercrown 10 was released in order to celebrate the 10th anniversary, so a slightly different blend and a very interesting design on the cigar. If Adam's got the pictures up, you can see they use this thin ribbon that drapes over the head of the cigar from underneath the primary band. It's very elegant and gives it that kind of classic knight in shining armor look.
It's a dressed series or something like that. I can't recall.
It's very, very,
I've
very
seen
cool.
it. I haven't tried that one.
This cigar is made in Nicaragua with a Mexican San Andres wrapper, a Connecticut broadleaf binder, and Nicaraguan filler tobacco. Already calling my name. These are all things that I love. It's a 5x52 Toro. The pre-light on this cigar was very interesting. There was some earth and tea leaf. And let's talk for a moment about the phrase barnyard. Okay? We use that from time to time, especially on the pre-light draw or the pre-light sniff of a cigar. We'll say that it's barnyard. And usually that means it's kind of hay, kind of a musty sort of hay. What I want to explain about this particular barnyard is I'm not just talking about hay. I'm talking barnyard. Like the whole, horse manure mixed with hay.
Oh, yeah.
And the weird thing is that it's actually kind of pleasant. But
it
in a very down-home kind of way. You don't think of, when you think of manure, you don't necessarily think of a pleasant smell.
If you've ever been on a farm,
right,
then that barnyard smell, it's a very homey kind of smell.
If you grew up in that kind of an environment, it almost is when you smell it, it almost like takes you back.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. So, I mean, it was very barnyardy, but it was still very, very pleasant. So I just want to make sure you don't think I'm talking about hay, because it was way more than that.
Some people love the smell of gasoline.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever,
So I used my trusty punch, and I lit up the Underground 10, and I was rewarded with the customary, should I sing it again?
Nicaraguan pepper blast.
We'll just, I already sung it. We'll let it
we're going to let that go.
I'll
I'll come up with something.
Yeah. Although I must say it was a very friendly blast. It wasn't one of those knock you back and you have to recover.
I want to point out, just on paper on this cigar, the only thing they could have done to make it more you is to take their regular label and then color it in like Day of the Dead.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
That's the only thing that could have made it more Cruze.
I just looked at this and I thought, I must smoke this cigar. And I hadn't had one until this. So it was, a very friendly Nicaraguan pepper blast. And then once that settled down, the pepper note remained, but it was joined by some friends I like to call cocoa and toast. And a very smoky sweetness that was a little hard to describe, but very, very, very nice. I really liked it. The burn on this cigar reminded me a bit of the way that a Liga Privada burns. It's a little crooked, but you could swear that the cigar is doing its damnedest to try to burn straight. So it gets a little bit jagged, and then it evens out like multiple times over the course of smoking the cigar. And I will also mention lots of very thick smoke. It was a very full smoking experience in terms of the smoke. Second, third brought some dried fruit notes, especially on the finish, along with tea leaf and a touch of cinnamon. I did flake off the ash at about an inch in because it looked like it was coming for me. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just look at that ash and go, that wants to be on my shirt. Desperately.
Yes.
And so I went ahead and flicked it off, but it was nice and solid, and it was good construction, even though it wasn't a razor sharp perfect burn all the way through. There was a dark roasted coffee note that was really subtle at first, but grew gradually as the cigar smoked until it was much more prominent in the final third, along with some baking spice and that smoky sweetness that came and went several times. I'd seen the cigar described as having a Mexican hot chocolate vibe. And while I did get a bit of cocoa, I'm not sure I would describe it that way. Maybe it's the smoky sweetness and the cocoa together is what people
with
were
little spice
referencing when they said that. But if that's the case, then yes, for sure. I will also mention that there was absolutely no trace of the barnyard manure note that I got on the pre-light. There was nothing in the smoke like that at all. So it was dense and complex, but no notes of poo anywhere in the
we could just call it fertilizer from now on.
There you go. That works. The Undercrown 10 was one of the most complex cigars that I've smoked in a very long time. If you try one of these, I would suggest you smoke it indoors if you can, or on a day that's really not windy at all, so you can really get the full flavor profile. It is worth it. Speaking of being worth it, the Undercrown 10 is a $10 to $11 cigar, and if you smoke it, you will actually wonder why you'd ever spend $18 to $20 for any cigar. Even at an $11 price, this baby punches well above its weight.
Ooh.
I don't know if this release is limited, but I do know that Drew Estate is limiting the amount of these that any one retailer can order at one time. So the amount of them being released into the marketplace is a little limited. Therefore, if you see it, grab it. It is that
snap
good.
one up, yeah.
Yep. Excellent smoking experience, price to quality at $11, $10 to $11. I'm giving it a 7.
Wow.
It was
That's
that good.
huge.
It was just a really unique. No other cigar I've ever smoked has had a flavor profile quite like this one, and it was just so complex, just layers upon layers. It was just fantastic.
So for those
Maybe I was just in the moment. I don't. It
That's
could
okay,
be that
though.
happens, you know.
That's okay,
but
because remember, we're talking about the experience. The
It's a
cigar
subjective
itself
thing.
is part of it.
absolutely.
You know, and for those of you tuning in that don't really know about our price to quality scale, it's a 1 to 10 scale. If you hit 5, you're getting exactly what you pay for.
Right.
If you were to rate it a little bit less, and maybe you shouldn't have paid so much for this. If you rated a little more, you'd have been happy paying more and not even had an issue with it. You're giving it a 7.
At $10 or $11, I mean, it's one thing to give a $6 cigar a 7.
Yeah.
You know, because you're saying, okay, if this had been 9 or 10, I'd have been okay with it. But honestly, if I had paid $15, $17 for this cigar, I would not have
Wouldn't
been
even thought
disappointed. Yeah,
twice
I would
about
have
it,
thought,
and
wow,
still rated it well.
that's what a $17 cigar is supposed to smoke
Wow.
like. So that's how impressed
The
I was.
Undercrown line has been so solid and fantastic from its inception. It's
I'm
been
generally a fan of
absolutely-
everything
yeah.
Drew Estate does. I even enjoy the acids every once in a while when I'm in the mood for one
Yeah,
of those.
the dirt acids and the juicy Lucy's, and they're fine.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, we are going to take a break, and when we return, let the blind taste test begin. We'll be sampling some Irish whiskey, letting you know what we think about it, and then discovering what actual whiskey it is. Do you have a sound effect?
That's what it's going to be like at the end of the show.
Oh, okay, good. Again, sponsored tentatively by Uber. They haven't actually agreed to sponsor us yet, but today would be a good day for Uber
Nice.
to sponsor the show. It's Smoking and Toasted. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 274. And Ian, can you tell from the show notes if our buddy Bruce Stark is
Bruce
watching
Stark
today?
is watching.
Good. We're going to be honoring Bruce later in the show.
I love
I
that.
have a special little award for Bruce later in the show. So,
Awesome.
so Bruce, hang with us if you can. We just we love to honor our most special listeners and viewers, and Bruce is certainly one of the most special that we have. So, so looking forward to that. Ian, for the first time in the history of Davidoff Winston Churchill, they now have a perfecto shape. Now, you may know the Davidoff Winston Churchill as the only Davidoff I really care to smoke, and
It's a good cigar.
and B, a Davidoff I really can't afford
Okay,
unless
careful. You said David. If you used Davidoff twice in one sentence,
yeah.
then you actually owe them $50.
Oh, I'm sorry that you're right about that, and that's about what the cigar costs is $50. It's not really, but it is very expensive.
They're expensive
It is
cigars.
very expensive.
They're great though. That I used to buy the Spitfire size in the tin,
Yes.
and that's a great short smoke. It's a fantastic cigar, but not cheap. You're talking
Nope.
about $6 per tiny cigar.
Yeah, like that's crazy.
And
For
they're-
$6, I
but
can
they're
smoke
good, you
something great and much larger. But anyway, the new Perfecto in the aforementioned brand Winston Churchill line. I'm trying not to have to pay more money. It has been released and it's arriving in cigar shops now. They are plump Perfectos, packed in boxes of 10, presented in a box that has been modeled after Churchill's briefcase. So that's kind of fun. Anyway, along with the cigars, every package includes a letter penned by Randolph Churchill, who's Winston's great-grandson. So that's kind of cool, too.
Nice.
A little historic piece. Anyway, each dramatically tapered Perfecto is 5 7/8 inches long. It's a 61 ring gauge at its fattest point, and they are made in the Dominican Republic. And I jokingly said they're $50, but they're not. They're $34.
Oh,
So yeah, there you go. Yeah, $34.
$34 a piece.
Yeah, a piece.
So, and if you buy a box, you have to actually You have to actually get that. What's that company that does the pay-as-you-go Affirm?
Oh, yeah, right. That's exactly right.
That's a joke. That's not real. But
our buddy
maybe.
Steve at Casa de Monte Cristo, do you guys have financing available?
I'd like to buy a Davidoff. Can I finance it for 3 years?
Can I fill out an application? Yeah, something to look forward to. Mcauliffe Cigars, you mentioned them earlier.
I like their cigars.
They acknowledged the recent International Women's Day with their annual release of a limited edition cigar made in honor of a special woman on their Mcauliffe team. And that cigar is at retailers now. It's the Mcauliffe Migdala Special Edition. It was first released last year, and it's dedicated to Migdala Sanchez, who created this particular blend. She is the matriarch of the Gomez Sanchez family. Her sons, Edel and Joel, are the blenders behind the Mcauliffe Legacy line. So,
man, I had a box of those Gomez Sanchez.
Yeah.
And I think I brought you one. It came in the little canoe.
It's wonderful.
Man, those were awesome.
Wonderful. This special edition is a petite Corona measuring 5 inches with a 40 ring gauge. It consists of a Mexican Habano wrapper and a mix of Dominican and Nicaraguan filler. While the company calls the binder Sumatra, they don't disclose the country of origin. But last year's Migdala was made with a Sumatra seed binder from Ecuador, so that could be. Suggested price of $10, and it comes in boxes of 12. And La Paulina has released the 125 Años at a 6.5 by 52 size Toro. It's made by Oliva, a company that's not really known for producing cigars for other brands, though they certainly have done so a few times in the past. Originally, La Paulina did not disclose the blend, although it later said that it's made up entirely of Nicaraguan tobacco, so a Nicaraguan Puro. The La Paulina 125 Años is limited to just 300 jars with 37 cigars apiece in them, which is an odd number.
That's interesting.
Not just an odd number, but a strange number, 37. It began shipping to stores last December. It's the first time that a cigar retailing for $20 has been released in jars of 37. It's probably the first time any cigar has been released in jars.
That's an expensive jar.
Of 30. Yeah, no kidding. 37 at 20. I mean, you do the math.
Let's just talk about the marketing from the cigar shop standpoint, by the way. When you put cigars in a jar, the consumer loves that and thinks it looks cool. Mm-hmm. But they hate that. It can't fit on their shelves properly.
Oh, I know. So they have to put it on a table.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. It's the cigar shops are not big fans of the cigar jar. But a lot of those jars are really good, actually, as makeshift humidors.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? They actually make humidor jars.
Yeah, that have a little element in the top of the lid.
And the truth is, like, if you have a jar that seals well, you should be able to use it as a humidor for a time if it's long enough, big enough, tall enough.
Drop one of those little Bovedas in there.
Oh yeah, Boveda, man. God, they're so good.
I know they really spoil me because I have them in I have 3 humidors. I have Bovedas in 2, and the other one I don't. And I hate having to deal with always, putting sponges and water in the element and all that stuff in the other one. So I got to get more Boveda. That's for sure. But some good things out there and more good things coming, even though we're now past the trade show time. We're still seeing some interesting cigars hitting the market. So very, very cool. I think it's time to do a little blind taste test of Irish whiskey. So we're going to start round 1. And Adam, both of these are the same, right? All right. So this is round 1.
This is our Irish blind taste test until you're blind.
Yeah. Yeah. There's multiple meanings to blind taste tests when it comes to Irish whiskey. So this is the first one. Only Adam knows which one this is. And
it smells good.
It smells like whiskey, doesn't it?
Sweet.
Yeah, it has a sweetness to it. You're absolutely right.
Sweet and delicious and earthy.
I'm digging the nose on this. Let's see what it tastes like on the palate. Ding, 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 ding. I like it.
I'm for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It does have a real sweetness to it. It reminds you almost like it's a different taste, but it reminds you of like a bourbon sweetness, when
this has but it has a delicacy that you don't get with bourbon. It's a delicate kind of flavor. So sweet and delicate with kind of a quick burn at the very end.
More delicate like a Scotch perhaps, but it's really good. Wow. I'm not sure how I'm going to rank these against each other. I have a feeling I'm going to like them all.
Now, keep in mind, this is. I'm going to taste the next one, then I'm going to come back to this just to make sure because this is the first whiskey of the day, so there's a little bit of palate shock going on there, no matter what.
All right, I'm just making a couple of notes. That's pretty good. And then let's go ahead and try the second one, Adam. So we're going to do these. We've got 6 whiskeys. So we'll do, in 3 segments, we'll do 2 whiskeys each. We'll pick our favorite of the 2, but then talk about what they wind up being. So here
This
is
is
whiskey
very
number 2.
Light in color. I suspect just from the color.
Not as much nose as the last one. So it gives you less up front, and the finish is a little more like a traditional whiskey, maybe?
It's got kind of a roundness to the flavor right there.
I would say most of the flavor is on the finish, though.
This has a very spring water kind of vibe to it.
Some minerality. Okay.
With the sweet, like very tea leaf kind of finish.
Yes, it does. It does have a hint of that, and a little bit of maybe a little more burn than I'm expecting based on how light it is. The whiskey
And it's
hug.
weird because the heat on this comes like right towards the end of the palate. It's not even after the aftertaste entirely. It's like right at the very end of the palate.
But there is, if you kind of just pause and wait for it, there is a little bit of a whiskey hug that comes back.
Yes, comes back. You definitely know you're
Interesting.
drinking a whiskey on this one. It's
Yes.
very delicate. Though. Again, I'm amazed at how delicate this one is, too. I'm going to go back to the first one.
I don't
just
think of Irish whiskey as being necessarily delicate, but both of these have had that characteristic.
The first one's definitely a little punchier than the second one.
All right, so between the two, do you have a favorite?
I'm going to go with the sweet, delicate, earthy mineral and quick burn of A.
Yeah, I like A the best myself, although they both were very good. In just my sort of shorthand notes here, I gave the A 4 stars and the B 3 stars, but honestly, pretty happy with either one of them. So, Adam, what were we drinking? What was the first one? A. So it'll fill us in here.
First one was Tullamore Dew.
Tullamore Dew. So now that is the Tullamore Dew single malt. So it's not just the standard Tullamore Dew, but it is the single malt. So
can I guess what the second one is?
sure.
Go for it.
Is the second one Powers?
No,
Okay.
What was the second one?
it was the Jameson Blender's
Jameson
Dog.
Blender's Dog. So we've had that one on the show before. We've actually had both of these at one time or another on the show before. And that's okay. You know, actually, now that you tell me, that makes sense because that's always had a little lighter profile. The Blender's Dog was where they went to where the blenders at Jameson's were all tasked with making a blend that was just somehow like personal to them, you know? And so this one was named after the Blender's Dog. I'm surprised they didn't name it like Rover or whatever his dog was named. Does anyone name their dog Rover or Lassie anymore? I don't think anyone actually does that anymore. It's just a little too cliche now. So interestingly enough, Ian, in round one, we both picked the same one, which I guess is more likely to happen when there's only 2 than if we had multiple ones. But yeah, it's just interesting because you and I usually kind of find our taste profiles to be a little bit different, although we both agree on what's really, really good. So,
Are you ready for the palate cleanser?
I'm very excited about the palate cleanser. This is the Dublin Me Luck. It is from, I think, what's becoming one of your favorite Houston area breweries, isn't
Man,
it?
these guys are slowly just crushing it in Houston with absolutely no marketing that I know of.
Yeah.
I never see anything marketing about them.
never see any billboards or anything like that, but they are.
and they're just slowly crushing it with, and all their special releases. A lot like I'm such a big fan of. I poured that first one a little bit heavy.
Oh, well, here, I'll take it, and I'll give
wanna swap
Adam
that
the
out,
one
Adam.
slightly less.
Adam sips a little less.
Here you go.
But you know, a lot of like the St. Arnold's, I love all of their special releases.
Yes.
Those are my favorite St. Arnold's, and their core line I like, but I live for those. Like I love having different beers, different seasons, and looking forward to it every year. And 11 Below is becoming that as well, and they have a very different personality.
Yeah, they really do. Their cans are very unusual.
Yeah,
and
beer-wise than St. Arnold. So, like, between those two breweries, I think I could just live on their special
kind of
releases
showcase
all
the
year.
best of what Houston has to offer. So, all right, this is. I'm taking Adams. This is.
There's
I think. Well, I gave one. We have.
you've got an extra one right there.
Ah, no wonder. Thank you. You would think that the blind taste test would not have me blind just
It's
yet.
happening already.
It's happening very early. So,
Gentlemen,
no,
it has begun.
I will mention Doug is with us in the studio today. Doug is going to be. We've I think mentioned on the show before that Adam is eventually going to be leaving us. His wife has taken an incredible job in Washington, D.C., and so in a few months, Adam will fly the coop, although he'll still be involved with the show, but he won't be here recording for us every week. So Doug is going to be our new engineer. So welcome aboard, Doug.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you. Ian, are we doubling your luck?
I am. The holidays and family drama are over, but St. Paddy's is around the corner. It's time to get in the spirit. Nothing says slanche quite like a fine Irish red ale. Dublin Me Luck's a rich malt backbone and unique Irish yeast character give this malty little treat all you need to get lucky.
Nice. I
That's
love
what
it.
it says on the can.
You know, I thought for a moment, since we're actually on St. Patrick's Day, I had thought about changing my name for the day as the host of the show, as the co-host of the show, to Pat McGroin. But I didn't want you to actually do it, so I decided against it.
I could have. I wish I'd have known. I'd have been your brother, Paddy O'Furniture.
There you go. See, Paddy's a good dude. Paddy's a very good dude. This is a delicious beer. I always think about the first red ale I ever tried, which was Killian's. And this is a lot better than that. Not that Killian's is bad. I enjoy it, but this is really
Killian's
really
red
tasty.
ale is a good. If you like Killian's, you probably like red ale. Mm-hmm. But this is a far superior product, I think.
And it's very
realistically,
very
it's
gentle and creamy too.
it's got this. It's got a little bit of bitters like you get in a good ESB, but not that bitter. Mm-hmm. It's got such a big malty, rich roundness that just hits you right up front, and it's toasty, and it's malty, and it's a little ridiculous, and then it all washes away with this real bright kind of crispy finish that This beer is brilliant.
It really is. It's so easy to drink too, and sometimes I find red ales are not necessarily, this is just me. It might not be everyone, but with a lot of red ales, I enjoy having one, but I don't necessarily want that for my next beer. With this, I could drink this all evening. You know what I mean?
Just so you know,
Yeah.
goes well with Irish whiskey.
Which one did you go back to?
I
Do you
went
know?
to the Tullamore Dew.
Well, it's very nice with the blender's dog as well.
It brings out a lot of caramel in the Tullamore Dew.
That Tullamore Dew, just so I can be clear, Tullamore Dew's regular line is actually quite good.
I almost bought that today.
But I really like this Tullamore Dew single malt.
So
it's
I
just
had
a good whiskey.
A little story on my way here today. I pulled out my bottle of Tullamore Dew. It's actually a clay thing of Tullamore Dew. They sell their basic Tullamore Dew. I can't remember the exact name of the basic one that they have. But
I think it's just Tullamore Dew.
Yeah, the basic one, they sell it either in a bottle, 750 mil, or they sell it in this little clay
pot. Yeah.
basically. And I had this clay pot, and the problem with the clay pot is you never know how much is in there.
Right.
And it's been sitting back there, and it's been behind.
That's the way my Skelly tequila is.
Right.
It's hard to tell how much you have left, and then suddenly you're like, oh, crap.
You need like a
it's
clear window on
gone.
the side like an oil can has, But it's been sitting in the back of my shelf, and I always forget about it. And so today I was like, I don't know how much is in there, and I don't know how long it's been there. So I poured it into a vessel, and it was funky.
Oh.
So I thought, you know
Funky
what?
and chunky?
Yeah, it was a little chunky and weird. So I thought to myself, we're not going to drink that. And it was literally only enough for like maybe a couple of us to taste anyway. So I went ahead and ditched it. And then I thought about picking up the Tullamore Dew, but you said you had one here.
Yeah,
this is
single
the
malt,
Tullamore Dew, but it was a single cask. You said
Single malt.
single malt Tullamore Dew. So I thought, I'll get something different instead. This
Okay.
time.
Well, I enjoyed it. In fact, I think we've come very close to draining the last of that Tullamore Dew single malt, and that's one that I will be replacing. I've enjoyed it immensely. So, sure, if you're pouring a little extra, I'll take some as we go to break and come back. In our next segment, we're just going to taste a beer, and then we've got 2 longer segments coming up in the show where we'll do the rest of our blind taste test. 4 more Irish whiskeys to go, and then you and I will pick from the 6 our favorite 3.
Challenge accepted.
All right, we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This program all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. You are checking out show number 274. Halfway to 300. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are show number
so good
274, which means we're really officially now halfway to 300. So that's a pretty
we're
exciting
tipping
thing.
the scales. Tipping the scales for 300. I just thought for just a moment there that I need to write, I think, more music for this show.
Yeah.
One of them being the Nicaraguan Pepper Blast song,
Yep,
so it doesn't sound like Bad Barry Gibbs. You could be BBG, BB Gibbs. That'd be your like stage name. You already have a stage name. You need a stage name for your stage name.
I just want to, and you know what? I actually really love Barry Gibbs, so I want to officially and firmly apologize to him for the bad impression. You know?
So, but I also need to write an "I Love Beer" song.
Oh,
like,
yeah?
I need to
Oh,
work
yeah.
that one out.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard that like the country band I'm in does some covers, and one of them is the "Long Neck Beer Never Broke My Heart." You know, that's pretty good.
And you know,
ode to
there
beer.
is an old country song by Tom T. Hall called "I Like Beer."
Nice.
The lyrics are something like, "I like beer, it makes me a jolly good fellow."
Drinking songs are great. Like Tom Waits, the piano has been drinking.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, come on. Drinking songs are wonderful, and you know, if we were allowed to use copyrighted music on the show, we could do a whole show. You know what we should do though? We could do like a Spotify playlist, a Smoking and Toasting Spotify playlist of great drinking songs. We should totally do that.
I have a CD in the car. Mm-hmm. This is a guy I ran into at a show last Friday, Friday before last. And this guy had an amazing voice. He was just doing a solo acoustic thing. He had an amazing voice. I was just like, this guy's fantastic. Well, towards the end of the evening, I was just chatting with him about it. And he came back in. He walked his stuff out to the car, and he came back in, and he handed me and a buddy of mine one of his CDs. And he walked off. And I looked down at the CD, and the CD's called Whiskey and Cigars. And I said, hey, man.
Yeah, he knew you.
So I went over. No, he had no idea, but he had me, right? So I walked out, and I said, hey, man, I just wanted to tell you. And I told him about my podcast and everything. And so he was like, okay, I'll check that out. And right before he left, he said, you can use any of this music you want. So I have the CD in the car.
Okay.
And I want to tell you, the song Whiskey and Cigars is freaking brilliant.
You got to contact him.
I meant to bring it up. It's in the car. I got to bring it up. No, he said we can use this.
Well, we got to contact him and see if he'll come on the show and do it live.
That'd be fantastic.
Whiskey and Cigars.
Oh,
Perfect.
man.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like, the CD's real good. That song is brilliant.
Does it have the line in it, "I hope I don't end up on Drinking News"?
No, but I bet he'd do an amazing drinking news song.
I bet he would. Ian, I just wanted to mention I left one thing out of the cigars to watch for those of you who have access to unlimited funds. The Pedrone Family Reserve 95 is about to hit the market, and it's one of those uber priced Pedrone cigars. It's named after the founder of Pedrone, of course, who died in 2017 at the age of 91.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
You say uber priced. I just want to point out that the Pedrones that I love are like $20 to $40 each.
Okay, well, this one's right in the middle. It's $29.50 per
Gotcha.
cigar, but it is the Padron Family Reserve number 95, and the reason it's 95 is because last year, which is the year that it was blended, Jose Orlando Padron, who founded Pedrone Cigars, would have been 95 years old if he hadn't passed.
Yeah, they had the 90 out for a while,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
obviously that's...
So this is the next iteration
one,
of
right.
that. So, yeah, so, if you're looking... Listen, they won Cigar of the Year like 4 times with Cigar Aficionado with these kind of releases. So, including, I think, just last year, 2021, I believe it was a Pedrone that won Cigar of the Year. So, all right, Ian, let's break into more beer here, shall we? This is Odd Side, which we already know that we love this brewery. And they've done some amazing things, including making you pay $25, making you happily pay $25 for a 4-pack of Hazel's Nuts, their amazing stout.
Have I mentioned how good that beer is? I think we
had it on the show, and
were
we just
blown away.
We really were. It's like we've had some very, very good beers on this show.
That one's
but
special.
that one kind of stood out, didn't it?
No, that one's particularly special.
So I'm really interested to see what these guys do with a red ale, because they are pretty good at pretty much everything else they do. So I enjoy they have a hazy IPA that's just sensational. By the way, it's
I don't think
good.
I've tried their hazy IPA.
Yeah, I'll have to get it.
You remember the name of it?
No, but it's in a white can with the Odd Side logo at the top.
I feel like I've seen it, but I hadn't tried it.
Yeah, it's quite good. So here we go with their...
So this is Paddy's Red.
Paddy's Red. I believe it's a seasonal. What does it say?
Everyone knows if you capture a leprechaun, you get 3 wishes.
Oh, well.
So
is one of them for beer? I'm guessing.
And they don't have a whole lot of other information on here. According to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcoholic beverages during pregnancy.
Well, it's good that they included that.
Yeah,
yes.
they have that on there. So. Oh, wait! I found a little. So they got this. It's an interesting can. They got this like, what is that? Like
it's a sticker that
bunch
says,
of arches.
Yeah. Like, well, you know what? It looks like the wood from an Irish pub is what it looks like.
Yeah, it's a bunch of arches, and then like an Irish pub. And then in one of the windows it says, Paddy's Red, a medium-bodied copper-colored ale balanced with malty sweetness, displaying notes of toffee and caramel with a slightly dry finish. 6% alcohol. I have to tell you, that sounds like right up my alley right there.
It's got a lot of nice maltiness on the nose. The nose is not particularly strong, but what I do get is a little bit of maltiness and caramel.
This is a brighter red ale than the last one we had. Oh. Oh, and then...
Did you get all that caramel on the end there?
Right after you swallow the finish.
The finish, yes. The finish is like, what the finish reminds me of those caramels that your grandmother used to have that come wrapped in cellophane.
Right, that you had to chew off of the cellophane because it was always stuck to it.
Yes.
I don't know what you're talking
about. But you get a lot of that on the finish of this. And up front, you get the malt, I think.
Yeah, it's this is not as malty up front as the 11 Below. Dublin Me Luck, but it is very pleasant, quite drinkable. It's also not as carbonated either.
No, it's very interesting beer, and I don't know. It says everyone knows if you capture a leprechaun. Oh, you read that. Everyone knows if you capture a leprechaun, you get 3 wishes. It does not say whether this is a limited release or something that they would produce year-round, but I would almost lobby for year-round on this. This is very good. I would too. Very good.
This is a good, easy drinking beer.
Between the 11 Below and this, do you have a favorite?
I like the 11 Below. The 11 Below is that malty punch right when you take the first sip of it.
It's got such balance to it.
Yeah, it's just, if you want to taste it, I don't know if you still have your cup.
I do.
If you want to taste it right next to it, it's just got that punch right up front. That
yes, it'll be interesting to kind of A-B them.
That's the end of that can.
Although, while you were out between the breaks, Doug, our new engineer, came over and poured himself some more of the...
Nothing wrong with that.
So, yeah, he was a fan. So,
wow, Doug, what do you think?
I like the other one better.
You like the other one better?
Yeah.
This is a good beer.
If you handed me this to drink, I would not complain about it.
Yeah.
But I like the other one.
I don't think, honestly, I think between the two, if I didn't try them right next to each other, I would probably like both of them in their own ways very well.
I would agree with that. They're definitely different, which is awesome, because you almost wouldn't want them to be like, well, that's just like the other one. That would. What's the point?
Where is Odd Side?
They are from Grand Haven, Michigan. And I'd just like to point out, here in Texas, we are very, proud of the number of incredible craft breweries that call this state home. But I got to tell you, the folks in Michigan are not sleeping. there is so many great breweries.
Now we know what they do all winter.
Yeah, well, what are they going to do? It's like, okay, it's fall, boys. Buy a bunch of beer and store it at your house because you're not going to be able to leave your home for a while, and you're going to want to have something to drink.
You know, my sister and brother-in-law live in Pennsylvania, and they actually have a room in the basement where he stores his beer. And stuff,
and keeps it nice and cool.
In the middle of summer, doesn't make any difference. You walk down there, it's chilly,
and you have to have that storage in Pennsylvania because I've told you this. I lived in Pennsylvania, and when you buy beer, you have to go to the beer distributor, and you have to buy it by the case, which
it's pretty
doesn't
crazy.
Seem like it promotes responsible drinking. But hey, whatever.
I'm sure there's some logic, but it's pretzel logic if you ask me.
Well, the good news though is that when you get home from going shopping for beer, you have a case of beer.
That's true. I did just use the term pretzel logic too.
Yeah,
so that's
I know.
Awesome.
And I immediately thought of a Steely Dan song.
I know.
So. This is the way it works, right? Right. I like both of these. I have to say.
Agreed.
They're both
Agreed.
really
They're
good.
both great beers.
Both
I
really
think
good.
if I was picking one over the other, I'd say 11 Below, but it's a slight difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So both good red ales, and both of them crush. What did we talk about earlier? Killian's.
Yes, absolutely. Now, we still have one more beer to sample a little bit later on in the show. We'll be trying the Eureka Heights Tipsy Clover, which is an Irish-style stout. So I'll be looking forward to that. That should be quite a bit different from these reds.
Yes.
So we'll be looking forward to that. Also, it's time to get back to our blind taste test. So we'll be doing that in the next segment, and we're only minutes away from drinking news. It's coming up on Smokin' and Toastin'.
All right.
Show number
Got
274.
another beer to put on the Twitter kid?
Welcome back. It is Smokin' and Toastin'. We are so glad to have you. Show number 274 is here.
Slightly past the halfway point to 300.
Oh, now we're slightly past? That's interesting.
You know, at some point in time, you just got to look at the scales and go, okay, we're definitely closer to 300 than you know.
I just hate admitting that. I like being halfway. Halfway.
What are we going to
sounds
do?
better
We're
than
going to have some kind of ridiculousness for 300.
You know what? I think we should do something special, actually, for 275. So here's what I had in mind. We invite on one of our favorite guests of all time,
Oh, yeah?
Greg Duxakis.
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's going to be here on next week's show, so we'll be looking forward to that. And we, of course, will be drinking rum, or I assume it's rum. You know, he doesn't just. I think of him as the plantation rum guy because I love plantation rum so much. But he also represents other products too, and I think he may have something new in the non-rum category to share with us. So we'll be looking forward to that. I like having him on the show because since the company he works for creates all these cognacs and amazing European products, his French accent when he says the name of these products is flawless, and I always feel kind of cultured when I'm in his presence. Right. You know what I mean? Plus, it's always interesting to see what his hair looks like because it's different every time we have him on the show. So that's the big mystery. So anyway, Docs will join us next week, and then 2 weeks from today, on Smokin' and Toastin', Ian will be out of town, and I will be hosting the show with You Know Him, You Love Him, Mr. Alan Denny from the Galveston Island Cigar Lounge. So I'm just telling you, you're going to miss a little drunk fest when you're gone.
Man,
Alan,
I should be at a point where I can pull that up and watch it.
Okay, well, you'll enjoy
see.
checking out the show because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Alan is, of course, always a great guest, and you know he's very super knowledgeable about what's going on in the cigar industry. So we'll pick his brain about what's happening and where things are. All right, Ian, round 2 of the Irish Whiskey Blind Taste Test is here. Adam, our producer on the Wheels of Steel, is pouring the whiskeys, not telling us who they are, and we are trying them and seeing what we think.
That
smells like whiskey.
Has a very proper whiskey.
Yes, it does,
smell.
doesn't it? If I didn't know, I would
Whiskey.
say it's whiskey.
Whiskey.
Whiskey?
Whiskey.
That's how Sean Connery would say
Yeah,
it.
whiskey.
I'll have the whiskey. My Sean Connery's better than my Barry Gibb, you have to admit. That doesn't mean it's that good, but it is better than my Barry Gibb.
That's a low bar to get over.
Yeah, quite frankly. Just about any impression I do is better than my Barry Gibb. On the nose, just a kind of a straight sort of whiskey vibe. You've already tasted it. What do you think?
Wow. Okay. This is big and round compared to the other one.
Cinnamon. I get lots and lots of cinnamon in this baby.
I go with that. And spicy on the finish, too. So definitely cinnamon and spicy on the finish.
Cinnamon in the middle of the palate. Lots of cinnamon and other spices. Maybe even a little clove there on the finish. That's good.
Yeah, there's a little bit of some. Clove is a good one.
I'm writing down just in my notes cinnamon bomb. Nice little gentle whiskey hug comes back at you after a moment. It's not too intense, but it's there.
It's interesting. It's not a real refined taste. It's not delicate like the other ones. The other ones had a little.
No,
more
it's
delicacy.
bold. It's definitely bolder.
Definitely bold.
And
This
it's got some caramel in there too. That I'm getting in.
You know,
in
if the
my
other ones are
subsequent
like an
sips.
orchestra, this is a little more garage band.
And
but
there's
not
nothing,
in a bad
and
way.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you want to see the the London Symphony Orchestra. Sometimes you want to see the Strokes. You know what I mean?
There you
It's
go.
just the way it is,
Or
right?
the Melvins, right?
Yeah, right.
I saw the Melvins with Napalm Death
How was that?
at Numbers. It was oddly awesome.
Numbers is like the most awesome place. You know, I saw 9 Inch Nails there.
Yeah.
It was
yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I saw John Spencer Blues Explosion.
Oh,
What a great
fun
band
times.
that was.
Fun times. Yeah.
Remember them?
Okay, so I like this.
You definitely know you're drinking whiskey
It
on that
may
one.
not be as refined as
Big
the first
whiskey
two that we
hug.
tried, but boy, is it good. Big whiskey hug is right. I'm gonna make some notes on that. That is A for round 2. So here comes B.
Oh, this is immediately like you can smell.
I get a lot of minerality on the nose on this
Yeah,
one.
this is a much more like delicate. And
Reminds me a
pretty
little
kind
more of a
smell.
Scotch sort of a vibe. Okay, I like the
Kind of
nose.
an earthy smell to it, almost. Not quite floral, but earthy.
Okay, this is just out and out whiskey. You know what I mean? It tastes
like
like
that.
whiskey. You do like that,
I
though.
like that. That is unapologetically whiskey right there.
Yeah, I'm writing
I
my
agree.
notes. I'm writing down pure whiskey.
I'm just putting whiskey AF.
All right, that makes sense. That makes total sense. I like it. Something about, and I'll go ahead and reveal my pick for these two.
Minerally.
Yeah, very mineral. Something about the first one of this round, the A, really like kind of got me in the palate in exactly the right place. So I'm gonna say that's my favorite of these two, but I do like them both. What about you?
Honestly, I think I'm liking the first one a little better than the second one.
This
as
is
well.
weird. We're picking the same stuff. That never happens.
But I'm gonna go back and try that first one first.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, the first one has a little more punch and a little more bite and a little spice. I like the spicy.
Yeah, it definitely
like
is spicy.
It's spicy,
I
like it's spicy in a way that it's like cinnamon, and like the way that the way that a rye is spicy, kind of thing. It's kind of spicy in that way. It doesn't taste like a rye at all, so don't
Right. It's
mistake
not-
that. But it's that kind of spicy thing.
All right, Adam, what are we dealing with? What is A that Ian and I both picked as our favorite of the two?
Since you brought him, do you want to guess what A was? Oh, man. Could you guess what it was? You've had it many times, but that's why I'm asking.
Is it Slane?
Yeah. It's like,
That whiskey is so
Punchy
good.
and-
It's one of the most inexpensive whiskeys you can buy.
You said $28.
It's
for
like
the
a
bottle?
$28 bottle, and it is just so good. Now,
We got turned on to that.
yes, at Reserve 101.
We had a meeting at Reserve 101, and they happen to have that there.
I love how Ian refers to it as a meeting. Yeah, we got to talk about some stuff. Let's meet. Let's have a meeting. Where?
Right.
At Reserve 101.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, business is business, right?
That's right. So, no, but they did turn us on to it. The bartender there did.
Yeah, she was like, "Hey, this is what we got on a special," and we're kind of like, "Okay, maybe." And then she's like, "No, try this," and wow, we were blown away. And then after we tried it, she laid that bomb. I think at the time, that was a couple years back, she was like, "It's $23 a bottle."
Yeah, and she was saying that all of their bartenders couldn't believe it. That it was like they thought it tasted and drank like a much more expensive.
Agreed.
So that's a good Irish whiskey. So Slane is the first one. And
All right, what's B, the whiskey AF one?
B is red breast, single pot still, 12 year.
Yeah.
All right, so you and I'll just point out, both of us picked in this round that A was our favorite over B, and B's that about a $60 whiskey?
Yeah, it's about $60 for a Redbreast.
Yeah. So just
half the
saying,
price.
Yeah, for half the price, you can get a damn good whiskey in Slane.
And I want to point out, too, that we've had 4 whiskeys here, and we picked our favorite out, too, but none of these are bad. These are all delicious.
Agreed. The Redbreast is, in fact, I just had another sip of it, and it's really freaking delicious. I mean, that's absolutely something I would want to have stocked in the bar.
I haven't had Redbreast in a few years, so I figured it'd be a fun one to bring. And it does have a sweet, that sweet whiskey kind of thing to it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting and awesome.
Interesting and awesome. I agree.
You know, here we are, 4 whiskeys into our 6 of the test, and I'm kind of beginning to understand why Irish whiskey is beginning to do so well.
Well, you know,
these are great whiskeys.
I will tell you, Jameson's a staple on my shelf, and I have a friend that lives around the corner, and they always drink Jameson's. They always do shots of Jameson's, and whenever they do a shot of Jameson's, they've learned now that they don't generally pour it in a shot glass for me. They just put it in a glass,
in a regular, tumbler.
and I sip it because I'm just not going to shoot it. I've kind of given up on taking shots of whiskey.
Yeah.
Because every whiskey, well, if it's a particularly bad whiskey, I just generally won't. I'll just be like, no thanks.
No thanks, I'll have
Someone
a water.
comes around and like, shots of Beam, I'll pass.
Yeah,
Hard pass.
I'll have a water. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
shots of whiskey are things that happen most often in A, college, B, the movies.
yeah, well, I mean, they happen all the time, but I just stopped doing it. You know, if someone's going to do a shot and someone's going to buy me a shot, I'll take that shot, but I won't shoot it. I will sip it.
Mm-hmm. Unless it's Beam, in which case you'll pass.
Yeah, in which is Beam or Jack.
All right, so let's do a little palate
so
cleanse
much.
here with some Irish Stout.
Oh, twist my arm, sir.
Well, now, while you're pouring that, let me tell you about a little. That's a local beer for us here in Houston. There's another local beer that is sought out help from a local barbecue joint, Blood Brothers Barbecue in Bel Air, a neighborhood here in Houston, has teamed up with No Label Brewing in Katy to create Don Jalapeno, an ale made with poppers that were smoked at the barbecue joint, Blood Brothers Barbecue, by their pitmaster, Koi Hong, and it's a spiced beer. Now, I'm not a huge fan of spiced beer, but I may have to try this because it sounds like a really good.
I've had Don Jalapeno.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, that's not super new.
So this must
I don't
just
know.
be a
This
new
might
collaboration.
be different because
It
they're
must
doing
be
it
a-
as a collab.
Yeah.
But I've had Don Jalapeno before, and I'm not a big fan of. Sorry, I slopped a little bit there. I'm not a big fan of spicy drinks,
See, I'm the
spicy,
same.
like heat spicy drinks. You know,
I like spicy food washed down by non-spicy drinks.
right? So, like, I love you almost can't make the food too spicy for me. However, when it comes to my drinks, I don't really like jalapeno drinks. I don't really like habanero drinks. Sometimes a little kiss of that flavor is interesting, and it's not that I absolutely hate it and won't drink it, but generally speaking, that's not what I'm going to reach for.
Yeah,
So
agreed.
I bought Don Jalapeno when it first came out, and this would have been about 6-8 years ago.
Right.
The first time I saw it, I bought it because I thought, okay, well, it's interesting. We'll try it. And I guess for what it is, it's pretty good.
How are you about the
But-
Mu Caliente?
Hold on. But I took that Don Jalapeno.
Oh, I
And
know
I
what
thought
you
to
did.
myself,
Uh-huh.
and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm not really into drinking this beer, but I made some of the best brats.
I bet you did.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
Those brats turned out in jalapeno beer. They were like 9 kinds of good.
Now, how are you about Mu Caliente?
Mu Caliente is an interesting one because it is spicy, but it's also stout. So it's like having it's like having more of a dark chocolate kind of with spice with chili in it, and it's interesting because it almost cancels itself out in that realm. So I like it, and I like especially when they do some of the barrel aged versions of it. But again, it's not something that I generally reach for.
Now, speaking of stout, this is an Irish stout. Do you know?
Smell how
What-
barley ridiculous that is.
Yeah. Do you know what actually makes a stout an Irish stout? Is it really just kind of a
Don't know.
descriptor, or is there a thing?
I have no
It's
idea.
an Irish stout because. What does it say on the can?
This super crushable Irish stout was brewed with roasted barley and conditioned on flannel and bagpipes.
Well, there you go. That's what makes it an Irish
They
stout.
put it through a flannel and bagpipe randle.
That works. That works.
That's me making that up. Conditioned on flannel and pairs perfectly with a piping hot stew. Can you imagine this with a good Irish stew?
I will tell you this, having sipped a little bit of this, and by the way, big time Irish coffee
Yeah.
is the predominant.
But you can smell that roasted
flavor.
barley right
Yeah.
off top of that. It smells so good.
But I will say it makes me think that this might have made the finale movie that they did for Ray Donovan more enjoyable. You want to talk about an incredible series with a very disappointing finish? I didn't like it at all. But it is so Irish. Like the whole Ray Donovan thing is just so like steeped in the sort of Irish American type vibe that
this beer right here is not sweet. It's not real sweet. There's a little like a hint
It's
of
almost
sweetness,
coffee bitter.
but it's very coffee like or
It's delicious,
but
by the way.
barley like, and I can imagine this going with roast beef, like roast like savory roast beef potatoes, or
When I
like
lived
a
in-
rotisserie chicken or things like that.
When I lived in Boston, Kelly's, which had these great roast beef sandwiches, they would go so well with this.
By the way, this
So
is
well.
4%. Oh,
For a stout, that's pretty
yeah.
light.
Also, little known fact for all you calorie counters out there: 12 ounces of Guinness is 125 calories.
That's not bad.
It's high in carbs,
Yeah,
but it is low in calories.
good to know.
Lower than most.
Good to know. All right, we're gonna take a break. This is really a delicious stout. It really is, and I can't believe it's 4%. Because I'm just used to stouts packing a much bigger punch, you know.
Yeah, no, this is.
But
this
you're
is
right.
not very-
Guinness is low ABV too.
4.5.
Yeah. So, but this is a thicker, more coffee tasting beer than Guinness.
Yeah.
Which leans towards the
Guinness,
chocolate
by the
a
way,
little
just
bit.
put out a 0 ABV.
Did they really?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do a non-alcoholic beer blind taste test.
Do you realize how sober that show is?
I know
gonna
it's
be?
going to be like the worst show ever. We'll have to do it on a.
By the end of that show, we will have nothing to say to each other. Be like,
Yeah.
I'm so sick of you.
Yeah. Ian, I'm taking a break. I can't do the show for a few more weeks. I can't be around you. All right, let's take a break.
That's going to be a definite thing we have to do.
We'll be right back with the final round of our craft beer blind taste test. And as if that.
Irish whiskey blind taste
Oh,
test.
I'm sorry. Did I say craft beer?
Yes.
Yeah, Irish whiskey, but apparently I've had some Irish whiskey. Our Irish whiskey blind taste test continues, and if that wasn't enough to bring you back for the next segment, it's time for Drinking News. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. This program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, all things we are quite fond of here at Smoking and Toasting. And we are on show number 274, our exciting blind taste test for Irish whiskey today. Still has 2 whiskeys to go, and then we'll be picking our favorites from the bunch. I am always excited when we get to this point in the show because there's a definite fan favorite thing happening around the segment that we started, 100 shows ago or so, called Drinking News. And Drinking News is really all about news stories, and we try to do real news stories. We don't go to the Onion. This isn't manufactured comedy. It's hopefully real life comedy that
Right.
stems from somewhere where somebody did something a little bit ridiculous. And Drinking News stories are sometimes, but not always, about drinking. But they are always best listened to if you've been drinking. And in our case, with the Irish Whiskey Blind Taste Test, we've made the qualifications, so we're good to go. So you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well, welcome to Drinking News number 274, and today we want to give special thanks to Smokin' and Toastin' superfan Bruce Stark, who we love to refer to as On Stark.
On Stark.
We want to thank Bruce for calling this week's Drinking News story to our attention. Bruce, you have officially won the Smokin' and Toastin' Listener of the Week Award. Did you?
I don't have a sting for that. I wasn't
you looked
ready.
like you had purpose, so I stopped.
I was thinking, I almost have something, but I don't have a sting for that.
Well, Bruce has always been one of our absolute favorite listeners, and he called this. In fact, he texted this to you, and you texted it to me, and it made for a perfect drinking news story because, well, you'll see. So, we've all been there, right? You hand a bunch of your hard-earned money to a perhaps less than reputable individual for a couple of baggies of crystal meth. You look around to make sure nobody's watching you when you exit his double-wide trailer. And then you get home, and you look at the meth, and you wonder if it's real. I mean, that dealer did look a little dodgy, right? Maybe the meth he sold you...
That particular meth dealer looked a little dodgy.
I mean, maybe the meth he sold you isn't even meth. Maybe it's fake meth. Happens to all of us from time to time, right? So what do? I mean,
I just want to point out I've never been sold fake meth.
Okay, it's good to know. So what do? You're not a chemist, right? You're not Walter White or even the guy that plays him on TV. And some of these dealers out there don't even have the human decency to sell you the real thing. Well, a Florida man was in just this situation last week.
What did he do?
He bought 2 baggies of shiny crystals that looked like methamphetamine, but he was suspicious. Just like the, problem of fake news, which this is not, by the way. This really happened.
This is real.
Yeah. The problem of fake meth is a very real one, and nowhere is it more prominent than in Governor Ron DeSantis' state of Florida. So,
of course,
when a 41-year-old Thomas Eugene Colochi of Hernando County, Florida, had questions about the authenticity of his meth, he did what I'm sure, Ian, that you or I would do. He called someone who could do something about it. Yep.
Who are you going to call?
Thomas Eugene Colochi picked up the phone and dialed 911 to ask for a quality control check on the meth that he'd just bought, saying that he wanted to protect others from buying fake product. As it turns out, Hernando County Police were only too happy to help him. They were dispatched to his home, where they introduced themselves, and then, using the resources of their department, they tested his recently purchased supply of methamphetamine. And they had good news for Colochi. The meth
It was real?
was legit. It was good, old-fashioned, authentic crystal meth. And so they arrested him. Colochi told the deputies that he'd recently purchased the drugs and after having used a bit of it, believed that it was actually bath salts. He went on to tell the deputies that he was an experienced drug user, having used methamphetamine in the past, and he said that he, quote, knew what it should feel like, end quote.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he told the officers he was worried that...
if you're an experienced meth user...
Right. He told the officers he was worried that other people might buy the fake meth from this same person and was determined to protect fellow contraband-buying humans, that if it turned out to be fake, he wanted that seller held accountable for any irregularities. Colochi was charged with the possession of methamphetamine and 2 counts of possessing drug paraphernalia and was subsequently taken to the Hernando County Detention Center. The Hernando authorities published this statement after Colochi was apprehended. If you or someone you know have doubts about the authenticity of any illegal narcotics you have on hand or have obtained from another person, the Hernando County Sheriff's Office is pleased to provide this service free of charge.
They will test it for you.
Absolutely. Knowing the proclivities of the Florida man, I have no doubt that Colucci won't be the last to take them up on it.
Hey, there's a certain logic
Yeah.
to that because and kudos to him. His goal and seeking goals and accomplishing goals. Like, he did all the right things. He went through all the right channels.
Yeah.
He got the answer he needed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was that.
Guess what? It's real. You have the right to remain silent. Reporting.
The question is, what would the police have done if it wasn't?
Right. Yeah.
What if it was just salt or something else?
Okay. Well, sorry, dude. See you later. Reporting from Florida, my name is Cruze, and that, my friends, is your
Drinking news, even if it's a catch-22. Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
Did you like my improv?
I like that. New lyrics on the Drinking News jingle. Very
those
nice.
lyrics have a liquidity to them. They can be adjusted to fit situations.
That's pretty good. I'll never forget the first time I heard you do the Drinking News song, and you said a Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. I was like, what is it going to rhyme with that? Yeah. Little did I know you were way ahead of me.
Yeah, well,
All right, let's return to our blind taste test for Irish whiskey. Adam has been pouring in secret over there, and I want to mention, by the way, that we take pains not to look when Adam's doing the pouring because we don't want to know until. No, don't look. I was just saying we don't look.
I thought you said he was done pouring.
I don't know.
Now you're looking.
Well. I'm just trying to say we try not to know what the whiskey is when it arrives because we want to, do
I'm
a
not
fair
touching you.
blind taste test. He's touching me,
I'm
Mom.
not touching you.
He's touching me. All right. So here we go. Let me hand this over, and we will now be doing round 3, whiskey A.
Now that's got a very distinctive smell to it. Very distinctive nose.
Okay. Oh, it does. Definitely distinctly different from the others.
This is on a different level from all the ones we've tried.
So you're saying it may be you're almost ranking it above what we've tried.
I'm just writing one word.
What did you write? Wow.
Actually, from your perspective, it says
Mom.
It says mom. Yeah.
Good to know. This is absolutely delicious.
This is another level.
Complex.
Super refined. Super delish.
I'm digging this.
This is a lot. There's that caramel finish, a little cinnamoniness to it.
Some minerality,
but really
for sure.
round and soft at the beginning.
Yeah, very, very well balanced. Some minerality, some little bits of cinnamon and spice, but wow, really delicious. I'm going to say that's pretty spectacular.
That's my favorite so far.
I'm writing Mom. In my notes.
Good, yeah, right, Mom.
Okay, very, very, very nice. Okay, so
that's my absolute favorite so far.
let's now try the final one. This will be the 6th of our blind taste test Irish whiskeys, round 3, whiskey B.
That's nice too, but it's not near as refined. Not near as exquisite.
I have a feeling we'd be almost likely to rate this one higher if it didn't follow that last one. You know what I mean?
This one has almost a little caramelized sugar kind of thing going on in the end.
Yes, a little like a creme brulee almost vibe to it. It's got a nice sweetness to it, a very delicate sweetness. It is really good.
Almost kind of a burnt vanilla thing going on too. It's really nice.
Which is something I really like. This one would...
That's pretty good.
This one would likely have done really, really well, better if it hadn't followed A. But A was so spectacular that I'm going to say, among these two, I choose A as the better of the two. But they're both really good. Like you said, This is not quite as refined
I
as A
don't
was.
think we've tried a bad whiskey in the bunch, to be honest with you. I think it's all pretty good. My
Regardless of
guess
price. Yeah.
is this is Green Spot and Powers.
Green Spot is A and Powers is B.
Yes.
Let's see if we're right. Adam? He's just giving us a thumbs up.
100% right?
Yeah, A is Green Spot and B is Powers. Okay. How much was the Green Spot was about $60. How much was Powers?
34-ish.
It's awfully good for that
It's
price.
real good. And here's the thing: we're talking about these whiskeys and which one's better than the other, but the truth is, they're all really pretty good. Like,
And
there's not a bad whiskey.
They all kind of stand on their own, really.
There's not a bad whiskey in here. I would say the least refined out of every whiskey we had was the Powers.
Mm-hmm.
Even Slain, I thought, was a little punchier. I might like Slain more than Powers. I'm not sure. I'd try them. Which one was? We'll see. I'm gonna try them back to back. I can. Slain was 2A and Powers is 3B. So 2A.
Have you kept yours in order there?
Yes.
I've kind of made a mess over here, which I tend to do when I sample lots of whiskey.
Man, that's a cinnamon bomb right there.
That's the Slain, right?
They're both really good, but I gotta say, I think I like the Slain a little bit better right now
Then the Powers?
than the Powers.
All right.
And
So
the Powers is still good too.
So put your thoughts together. When we come back in our final segment here, we will announce our 3 favorites, 1, 2, and 3 out of the 6. And remember, this is just a small sampling of Irish whiskey. But if it told us anything today, out of all 6 of these, we didn't find one of these that we thought was, not worth it, right? They're all
No, they're all
worth-
fantastic.
They're all fantastic.
And
They're
the
all worth
Slain is
price.
$28, and the Green Spot was almost 100. I
It was
think.
no 60. It was like 65.
Was it really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. Now there's also a Green Spot that is closer to 100. This is the
Gotcha.
one. It's a couple of different iterations, and I
So
don't remember
$30
now
to
the
$60 is a pretty beastly price range. And I got to be honest, Tullamore Dew was the single malt Tullamore Dew, the Jameson's Blender's Dog. That's probably the priciest one out of all of them, right?
Yeah, I want to say it was like 68, maybe.
Yeah. Slain is $28. Redbreast is 60-ish. Green Spot 60-ish, and Powers at $34. I gotta say, you can't go wrong with any of these. They're all delicious.
Yeah, so I'm seeing Green Spot. I'm just looking on the internet here real quick. I'm seeing Green Spot at prices ranging from 60 to 69.
Yeah.
But there is another one because I bought mine at Specs, and there was another Green Spot that was 100, and I got the $60 one.
I glanced at it when I went by there earlier. That's why I thought it was $100 for the Green Spot because I just kind of glanced. But
I'm telling you, this $60 one is outrageously good.
that is my number one for the day.
All right, we'll be back to look at what we rated and how we rated it, and to wrap up the show next, it is Smoking and Toasting. Thank you for being a part of the program. What, you need more whiskey? Is that it?
No, I was gonna point something out.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Ian, before we go, I have to share this. The government has released a report yesterday for the Food and Drug Administration. They commissioned it. And for the first time, they have, as a regulatory authority over the premium cigar industry, acknowledged a report that the health risks of premium cigars are completely different than the health risks from cigarettes.
You mean
and other
somebody
cigars.
actually paid attention?
Yep. Amazingly. Yep.
What?
A panel of 13 scientists conducted this study, and the findings indicate that the risks that are associated with other tobacco products are very different from those tied to handmade cigars, underscoring the need for a separate premium category. Furthermore, they believe that the data is necessary to better assess the smoking habits of premium. More data, rather, is necessary to better assess the smoking habits of premium cigar customers and the possible risk. They've confirmed what we all know to be true: that premium cigars are distinctly different from other tobacco products. Here's the
they need to put pipes in there with that as well.
Yes, they do. They say the health risks of handmade cigar smoking are significantly less than those of smoking other types of cigars because most premium cigar smokers are non-daily or occasional smokers, and they are less apt to inhale the smoke. Only 1% of the U.S. adult population smokes premium cigars, and very few youths, or Utes, as they say, smoke them. Premium cigar use is less common among youth, and only 0.6% of those who reported smoking a premium cigar brand in the past 30 days were under the age of 18. So zero. The first number says zero. 0.6.
0.6.
Yeah, and after all of that mess that we've had to go through with them claiming it's about the children. Yeah, no, it's not. It's absolutely not. Because such a small portion of the population...
I feel like it's about the money.
I feel like it is. Because such a small portion of the population smokes premium cigars, they deemed that the aggregate health effects in the population were, quote, modest, end quote. Premium cigars tend to smoke...
That's a pretty big statement for the...
It really is. From the government?
From the government. Holy crap.
From a chemical composition standpoint, they found that cigar tobacco, including premium cigar tobacco, is not necessarily safer than cigarette tobacco with high levels of tar and nicotine, but the health risks of premium cigar are most likely proportional to patterns and duration of use, how often one smokes, and whether or not they inhale. Now, we could have told them this.
Who inhales cigars?
Well, I've known one guy in my life that did. And it's because he was a cigarette smoker. He gave up cigarettes and went to cigars, and he was just so used to inhaling that he did. And then he kind of like started to.
I was a cigarette smoker until 2005.
And so when you quit, did you want to inhale your cigars?
There were a couple times where I made that mistake.
Right.
And I will tell you,
it only takes a couple of times.
You don't make that mistake lightly.
No, you really don't.
You inhale a puff on a cigar, and you will be, if you're not coughing and choking, you are made of iron.
Oh, one other finding of this study. They pointed out that premium cigars are marketed in lifestyle magazines, online and through social media, and there was zero evidence to definitively say that any of that marketing targeted children.
Man, you know how many 16-year-olds buy GQ? And Cigar Aficionado?
And the Rob Report?
And the Rob Report?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can't get that off of their iPads. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, it's everywhere. Anyway, so I thought, look, all in all, this is good news. I hate that they spent all that money for it.
I love that we've come this far and we're super... Like, okay, so our government has beat us down to the point where we're so... insanely excited about the fact that they've actually seen a shred of common freaking sense.
I know. That's exactly right.
Are you serious? Like, that's where we're at right now.
We are excited about it,
I feel embarrassed that I'm excited about it, yet I'm still excited about it because holy crap.
Exactly. Plus, I'm also enjoying this green spot.
I'm going backwards through it now.
There is, by the way, a gold spot, and it's more expensive.
Yes.
And
there's a red spot. No, yellow spot.
Oh, yellow spot. Sorry,
there's
not
a yellow
gold.
Spot. There's a green spot,
and a red spot.
And a red spot. Yes.
But the green is really good.
Man, that is fantastic. You know, the first time we tried that green spot was over at Paul's place over at the New Potato.
The New Potato, yeah. So kind of fitting that on St. Patrick's Day, we've referenced the New Potato in Houston multiple
times. Can I also
times.
point out that today's the first day we've had this show in a long time where we didn't hear a leaf blower in the background?
You're right. We did hear somebody doing some sort of structural work on the building.
Something's missing.
Yeah. Well, it's St. Patrick's Day. The leaf blower guys are all at the pub. That's what that is. I can tell you exactly why it happened. So, all right, Ian, let's pick your top three in order, or go 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1. Slain. Number 3.
Slain is your 3. Okay.
Slain is number 3. Tullamore Dew, number 2. That Tullamore Dew single malt. Is outstanding. By the way, I'll explain single malt later. Never mind. Number 1, Green Spot. That Green Spot is something special.
That's a pretty darn good whiskey, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really on another. Like, from the first sip, I was like, that is another level right there. Like, there's no way to tell. How about you?
Well, I want to include the last one, the Powers, but I just can't have it break my top 3. So it would be a 3B or a 4. But for number 3, I picked the Tullamore Dew single malt. And it's interesting because you're going to see some similarities here. For number 2, I picked the Slain, the cinnamon bomb. And for number 1, I also picked the Green Spot. So this is very rare, though, because you and I generally don't pick the same stuff. We pick the same 3 in a slightly different order, but the same number 1.
We picked A for every one of these.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that, but you're right, we did.
So, but you can't go wrong with any of them. I mean, we had Powers.
Right.
Powers was nice.
I enjoyed that.
The
Redbreast, yeah,
was super whiskey.
fantastic.
I mean, I just put whiskey AF and mineral water as the tasting notes on that, and that says enough.
And I really love the Jameson Blender's Dog.
Yep.
It was
but
really
much more
good.
delicate, and I think that maybe it suffers in a blind taste test because you're used to bigger flavors.
Right, the bigger ones kind of come punching
through. That very delicate flavor
Agreed.
just doesn't quite cut through as much.
Agreed. I thought, but I did think it was interesting that we liked such a similar lineup of whiskeys. It's not a thing that you would expect on a normal basis, you know.
And for our send off,
Yeah.
we have a bottle kill to do.
Oh yeah, because now this is the Teeling. We actually used this as our spirit tasting just a few weeks ago, didn't we?
Yes, this is the Teeling
Didn't you get this
small
at the
batch.
Didn't you get this at the Whiskey Social?
I did. This was like at the end of it. There was the Whiskey Social whiskey that we got. Because when you buy a ticket, you get a take home.
If you buy the right ticket.
If you buy the golden ticket.
That's better than Willy Wonka right there.
So close. There we go.
All right, so
That's
we're
the end
killing
of
off that
bottle
bottle.
kill.
That will be our salute as we head outward for smoking and toasting.
This Teeling, and I didn't have the budget for it today because I was buying 2 other whiskeys, but I saw it on the shelf, and I will buy another bottle of this, and it's only $30-something.
And we love this when you
and
put
it's
it in for the show.
fantastic.
Yeah, it really, really is. So here's our cheers to this. We want to send cheers to Greg Doxakis, who will join us next week. We're excited about having him on the show and doing the rum thing. And we're excited about all of you who've made it through our whiskey blind taste test. Hopefully you're in better shape than we are by the end.
Can I put this at 1.5 on my list right now? I just took a sip of it. Holy cow.
Oh, that is quite
Cheers,
good.
y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Holy cow, that's good. Yeah, I saw this up there. I was so tempted, but I was like,
That is good.